do the Amish ever eat things like burgers and whatnot? So the only way we had to preserve meat in my community was to can it. So when you put ground beef in a jar and can it, it cooks it. So it's pre-cooked when you get it out of the can. You can put it in a skillet and brown it. Use it for any ground beef recipe, but it's hard to form it into patties. It doesn't hold the shape anymore because it's already pre-cooked. So the only time we had like fresh burgers was right around butchering time, you know, in the fall or the winter. And a few glorious weeks we'd have burgers every day. You know, at school we'd take pre-cooked burgers to school, put them in aluminum foil. I loved those days, you know. But chicken was our main meat because it was a lot easier to butcher a chicken and not have a lot of leftover meat that you had to can or preserve. So that was why we ate a lot more chicken than like hamburgers and stuff like that. But I used to love to go to McDonald's and get a cheeseburger. You know, I used to think those cheeseburgers were so good back then because I didn't eat a lot of them. One time I was at a party at my uncle's house. My uncle and aunt weren't home. My cousin was like to me and his buddies, "Hey, you guys want some cheeseburgers?" I said, "Hey, that would be great," you know. He puts the pan on the stove and gets out some bread and some cheese and starts making grilled cheese sandwiches, or toasted cheese as we used to call them. And I was like, those aren't cheeseburgers, you know. But I ate them anyway, really good. But he called them cheeseburgers. Later I saw Levina, I think it was, that did the same thing. But it was just funny because it was just a grilled cheese sandwich. So yeah, we had a lot of cheeseburgers right around butchering season when it was cool. And speaking of that, it's almost cold enough right now for it. God bless you all. Stay safe. Why would the Amish use canned meats when they can be bought as needed from slaughterhouses or grocery stores? Because the Amish try to be self-sufficient, and they drive horse and buggies, so it's hard for a lot of them to get to the closest grocery store. It might take an hour or two to get there and back. You know, I'm not saying that they don't go to the grocery store and buy ground beef and make hamburger patties sometimes. That was not something we did a lot in my household because we didn't have the money for that. It was a lot easier, cheaper to just eat from the canned goods that we had. And when it was butchering season, we canned the meat. And say it was in the summer, we canned all the vegetables. My mom would can over 1,000 cans when there was 8 of us kids growing up. You know, she'd buy peaches from somewhere and she'd can a whole bunch of peaches and stuff like that. Everything that was in season, we would be canning. So she was canning year round, you know, 10 months out of the year at least, she was canning this or that. And always stockpiling, and then we were using from that stockpile and eating the canned goods. And every now and again, like I said, we would go to town and buy, you know, fresh meat or like ground beef and make hamburger patties, but that was very rare. Usually it was like a special occasion if that happened, or it was on sale when my mom was at the store. That's probably the only reason she would ever buy it. And every now and again she would buy those frozen pizzas and she would bring home a couple of those and she'd pop those in the oven when she was coming home from the store, and it was, say, pretty late in the day. She didn't have time to make supper or whatever. God bless you all. Stay safe.